Hello viewers, in this session we are going to deploy one simple Spring Boot application in Kubernetes, that is the local Kubernetes cluster. So this is the agenda for today's topic. So basically these are the steps we need to cover with demo. So first thing, we need to create one skeleton application of the Spring Boot application using this link. Then after that we need to extract this zip in your preferred ID. Since I'm using Linux, so I can use vim. Then we need to build this Java application using your Maven and JDK. Then after that we can containerize this application using Docker. Then we can push this Docker image to your private registry. Usually you can push to Docker Hub in the public, which is available, but I am using this Harbor as the private registry. We will cover this part also. Then we can create one YAML file, that is the manifest file, which can be deployed to your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. So for this I have the lab environment, this one available. So I am using two virtual machines. The first one is my development machine, that is since I'm using Linux Ubuntu, so this will act as like a Spring Boot development machine. The Maven is installed, and I also installed the Kubernetes single node cluster. You can follow my previous video how to install the Kubernetes single node cluster. So and I'm also using another VM which is also running in my virtual box, which is act as like a Docker private registry, and where I installed this Harbor. Okay, so that IP address is .20 and my Linux development machine IP is .26. Okay, so this is the thing. Let me show you quickly. My two machines are running. This is my Kubernetes machine, also development machine, and this is the Harbor, that is the Docker repository is installed in the machine. Okay, so let me quickly log into my all these two machines. So this is my development machine, the IP address is .26, and this is my Docker registry machine, the Harbor is installed, that is .20. Okay, so let me go through the first step. Let me create the Spring Boot skeleton application using that link. This is the link, that the Spring initializer. You can select the project Maven and Java and the snapshot, the Spring Boot version 3.4.6, and here I put like a your organization name, artifact. Okay, and the packaging is jar, and I am using JDK 21, and you can select all the dependencies, like I am using it as like a RESTful application, so that's why I selected web and the actuator as the monitor. Okay, so once you done that one, generate this one, then it will download this file. Okay, so basically I already created this step also. This zip file is already created, and you can see the zip file is stored at this path like d:/opt. Okay, so let me upload this file. I think I already uploaded that file to this my development machine using this command. You can go follow this path. Okay, so go to your window directory and use scp command, and since I am using Linux, so that's why I want to upload to this development machine Ubuntu machine. Okay, so your zip download, then root or dirt your IP address of the development machine. Then I created one path in the development machine, that is opt java demo. Okay, so let me go to opt java demo directory, and you can see once you downloaded this zip file, okay, then you can unzip this one using unzip command. Unzip your zip file name, that is this one. Okay, once you unzip this one, then this file is generated, that is demo app. Okay, let me go to that app, demo app. Let me see what the things are there. you can see the POM file is there and the source should be there. Okay, let me build this Java application. Okay, so before that you can edit your applications. Like this is the application path. How to check? ls-r. You can see your source code application file. Basically it is stored in the 1 second src directory. It should be, yeah, this is your source. Okay, so you can edit this one, edit this file. Since I already edited this one, I think this one, yeah, src man java come your package and your source file. Okay, I already edited this one. I added one simple one method hello and put some messenger there and the request mapping as the REST controller, like that. Okay, I added this thing. Okay, so let me go ahead to build this application. We expect this message should be come out in the final stage. Let me build this application using this command maven clean install. It should, once the installation and build is succeed, then it should generate a jar file in the target directory. You can see the target directory is here. It will generate one jar file. Okay, let me build this application. You should build the application from the source directory, like the best directory demo of. Okay, the initial build will take some time, so to cover those things, I already built this application. Let me edit, I already changed the Java source code, so let me rebuild this application. Okay, so now it's compiling the source file. Once it completed the compilation, then it should generate the jar file in the target directory, because the jar file is needed in the next step when we dockerize this application. It should expect to create the jar file in this format. Okay, based on your POM configuration. Then our next step is to, once the build is completed, this step we are here. Okay, once the build is completed, then we'll containerize this application using the Docker, this thing, our next step. So for that we can create one Docker file. Now it's taking time. Okay, so we can create parallelly one Docker file, and all the instruction we can put. Hopefully you already know about this Docker, how to create Docker file. You can go through some other tutorial also. This is out of scope of this session. So in the Docker file you can place your base image, that is the from, that is in this case we are using, since it's JDK 21 base application, so we are using this JRE. Okay, now the build is ongoing, so meanwhile we can cover this Docker file. Okay, so in the first line is your base image. Okay, so the base image, like this is the base image, like Alpine Java JRE. Okay, so JRE basically, as compared to JDK, this JRE image size is very less. You can see the image size. Okay, so that's why I always use this JRE. This is the runtime to run this jar file. Okay, because the build process we completed in the Maven, so we no need to import this JDK. Okay, so this JRE is fine, and because the size is less, then we can create one directory there, that is the work directory equal to app. Then in this step, in this copy step, we need to copy this generated jar file to this app directory, and we rename that jar file as like demo app or something. Okay, then we need to expose your application in 8080. Then finally use this command to create one entry point for the your container. Okay, so let me check whether our build process is completed or not. Don't know why it's taking time. Once the build process once you created this docker file, then you should create one image, docker image, using this command docker build. Okay, docker build hyphen tag, t for tag, your image name and your tag. So you can put any name as the tag. So in my case I am using JRE21. Since I am using JRE, so for the we will take this naming convention so that it's easy. I don't know why this system is hang something. Let me cancel this one. System little bit hang. 1 second, let me restart the rebuild this one. Let me log in to this the my development VM. 1 second, I think something wrong. System is little slow. 1 second, guys. I can see some error in the console. 1 second. Let me try to log in. View session and development machine. It's not responding at all. Let me restart my development machine, this machine. Okay, till that time we can cover few things. So you should create one docker file, and once the docker file is ready, then we need to create the image. And after the image is created, since we are using this JR image, then we should test our application locally. Okay, so like docker run your application, the docker container name, then rm, it is like it's not required, but you can use this one. Okay, hyphen d, then hyphen port mapping, so I can port map like 8083, then your image name, docker image name. Okay, 1 second, let me try to log in to my development machine. Hopefully it will work. Yeah, now we can see the login prompt. Let me go to my Java directory demo of and use the same command maven clean install. Yeah, this command we can put there. Hopefully this should work. So once this jar file is created and Docker build is also completed, then the next step is we need to push that image to our local Docker registry. Okay, so for that I use the harbor. Okay, so if you are not aware of how to set up harbor, so these are the steps. Okay, so in my another VM I already installed this harbor. Okay, and you can check my harbor process is running. If you want to, I mean, let me create one video for that, how to set up this harbor, let me know. Okay, so this is the steps. I will cover that part shortly. Let me check my build process is completed or not. Active profile set. Yeah, so for the harbor, let me cover this part also. Okay, so the harbor, you can install the harbor using this command. Like I have created one directory in the harbor, so this machine, okay, this 20 machine, and you can download the latest version of harbor like 2.22.4, and there you need to configure your harbor.yaml file. Okay, so this is the important file. Let me show you. Yeah, so meanwhile we can see the build is succeeded. Okay, so let me go ahead to create this build. Okay, I mean create the jar file. Okay, so for that I need the docker file. Okay, so for that I already have some docker sample file is there. Let me copy this docker sample file to my current project demo app, I think. ctopt. Yeah, you need some docker file. Okay, so I already created this file. It should be in your base directory, that project base directory, that demo app. Okay, so I already created this one. You need to edit only this target directory. Okay, so let me check what is there in the target directory. Yeah, you can see this target directory. Okay, so this jar is generated, so you need to edit this file, docker file, accordingly. The copy instruction you need to put, one second, let me edit this one. In the copy instruction you should put this target, this one, and should be copied to demo app. Okay, all this thing remains same. We can go ahead and build this docker. Okay, so the docker command is placed here, docker build, this thing. Let me, so before that you can check the docker, any docker images are there or not. In my case no docker images is there, so we can go ahead to build this docker image. Okay, so you can put your docker image name, then tag. Okay, any tag you can use. In my case I am using JRE21. Okay, let me go ahead to create this one. And since we are using this JDK21 JRE, it will take some time to download this base image. Okay, so meanwhile we can cover few things from the harbor. Okay, so in the harbor, this is the main. Once you extract the harbor zip file, the this tar file, then this is the sample file you need to copy to this temp file to the harbor main configuration file. This is the main configuration file, the harbor. Okay, then you need to edit your harbor file. In my case, I already edited. I'll show you. 1 second. I already in the path opt harbor. I think harbor.yaml. Okay, we'll cover this part later. Okay, so let me check whether the docker build is completed or not. Yeah, you can see the docker build also completed. Let me check the docker images. You can see one image is also created and the size is around 215 MB. Okay, so the next video will cover like how to optimize this size using customized JRE. Okay, and this is the next video. In this video we'll cover this only how to create image using the default JRE. Okay, so let me try to run this application locally whether it is actually behaving correctly or not, then we can deploy it to Kubernetes. Okay, first you can test your application using this command: docker run your docker container name. RM is not required. If you want, you can put this -d is the daemon mode. It is running in the background. Okay, this is the port mapping, is your local port, and this is the your application port and demo of this JRE. Okay, let me run this one. Then in the docker ps you can check the process. Now you can see it is running and expose this 8080. Okay, and locally you can check 8083. Okay, you can try curl localhost 8083. Okay, 8083 because we mapped to 8083. Curl yeah, now I think that time the application was not ready, that's throwing some error. Now you can see this message is coming. Also you can, yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so now we can confirm that your application is running perfectly and packaged in the docker image. Okay, so now we can stop this container. It is not required because we are going to deploy it in Kubernetes. Okay, so you can stop this one, no issue. Your container name is okay. I stopped this one. You can see the process docker ps, no process is running, but our image still there. Okay, we can use that image in the Kubernetes. Okay, now the next step is we need to push that image to our harbor. Okay, so let me cover few things from the harbor. Okay, so this is the harbor, how to configure. I think we downloaded this one. We need to configure the harbor.yaml file. So this is running in my another server, that is .20. yeah, so this is, I will tell you the harbor example. This is the harbor example file. Okay, you can see lot of things are there, but these steps is not required. We need to place only harbor.yaml file. Yeah, I put my IP address here in the host name section. I put my IP address and port 8080 is the default one. Okay, and you should comment this one. Okay, because I am not planning to use this I mean what it's called 443. You can see one section might be there in this sample file. If you go to the sample file, you might see one section there is for HTTPS configuration. Okay, since I'm not planning for the HTTPS like certificate, but certificate to configure the certificate, self-signed certificate, so that's why I disabled this one. Okay, so I simple, it is a lab environment, so I can use HTTP only. Okay, so I already copied that one, that's why my harbor YAML file is reflected like this one. Okay, this is the one thing we can change, and after that no need to change anything. only this part we can change. Okay, harbor, this is the password. Okay, I change it to like harbor. First time you can change anything. Okay, other than that nothing need to change. We can go ahead to install that one. Okay, so how to install this one script is there. I mentioned all the document step. Okay, so you can invoke the script. Okay, after that, since it is using the Docker Compose, so that it will create a lot of containers there. You can check my harbor is running here. Docker Compose, yes, you can see lot of images it is created. Okay, and the status should be healthy. It will take 1 to 2 minutes to turn into healthy state. Okay, once the harbor is process, all the processes are healthy, then we can go ahead to check that one. Okay, I mentioned all the steps. What are the prerequisite? First you need to install the Docker in that machine. Okay, then we need to check that one. Go to your browser. Since I already installed through one virtual machine. Okay, and that virtual machine have the host role IP address, so we can access from your host machine, that is window host. Okay, so go to window host and put this. In my case the IP address is 20, so http://20. okay, hit enter. Now the harbor UI is coming. Okay, so here we can put like admin. In my case I changed the password already. Yeah, so now you can see in the project section we have different type of project. Okay, so I created one project like dev and prod. Okay, so that for the dev it should be like I created like public, and for the prod you can see I make it a private. So in this demo we are going to push one image to this project. This is the dev. Okay, we need to push one image. Already there I pushed one image. Let me push another image. Okay, let me otherwise delete this one. Is there a possibility to delete this one? I need to check that one. Okay, let me push another image. So for that, the first thing is that we need to log in to that harbor from your client. Okay, so this is my client. This my dev machine is the client. From this machine, the image Docker image already created. We need to tag this Docker image according to your private repo. Okay, so once we tag, otherwise you can use the Docker Hub itself, no issue. Okay, but I am using private repo. Okay, so for that first we need to log in to the Docker repo. So let me show you how to log in. So but before that we need some configuration in the client, since we are not using SSL, that is the .443 port. Okay, so that's why we need to tell the Docker on the client machine that so that you use the insecure registry. Okay, so I already configured in my client machine. Client machine is the .26. Yeah, this thing you need to configure in the client machine, that is your harbor IP address and which port the harbor is listening. This thing you need to put in the Docker. Okay, and after you put that one you need to restart this Docker. Okay, so that it will listen that new configuration. Okay, so the next step is that we need to log in to that harbor Docker registry. Okay, this is the command. This is my development machine. Okay, from this machine we need to log in to target harbor server, because we are planning to push the image to that remote machine. Okay, so before that we need to log in. So Docker login. If you are using Docker Hub, similarly you can log in to Docker Hub. Okay, you can see it is showing login succeeded. Okay, the command is Docker login, your username, my harbor password is admin12345, and your harbor IP address and port number. Okay, now we are ready to push our local image. You can see our local image is Docker image is demo up and tag is this one. Okay, so we need to push this image to registry. So to push that image, we have some commands. We need to tag this one. This is the tag. Your source image, this represent your source image. So in my case, the source image is this one and the tag is JRE21. Okay, and your tag, how to tag this one. Okay, so my target repo is harbor repo is this one, and I want to pass it to dev project, and I make it like v2 or something. Okay, let me check what is the version there. Something b1 or something is there. Let me or I can put like JRE21. Okay, there is no JRE21 here. Okay, so let me push using this tag, otherwise put v2, no problem. So Docker tag your source image and your target where you want to push. Okay, let me try this one. So after that it is tagged that one, so you can check from the image. Okay, it's tagged to v2 and this is the thing. Okay, so now into we want to push this image from our local to the remote repository. Okay, so how to push this one? I have this command. You can push this one. When you are pushing that one, then you need to change this one. Okay, your image name, this is, I think something wrong. 1 second. Yeah, your image name, this is the name, and your tag. So in my case, I tagged it to v2. Okay, so let me push that image. Now you can see it is pushing that image to remote harbor repository. Okay, from your local image, I mean Docker. Okay, so we expect that repo should be, when we refresh this repo in harbor, now the image push is not completed, so that's why it's not reflected there. We can wait. Now it is pushing the image. Because the image size is almost 215 MB, so it will take some time, but it is pushing to our local private repo. It's not to Docker Hub, so that's why it should be very fast. Yeah, now it's pushed to local I mean our remote harbor repo. Okay, so we should refresh this one. Yeah, 2 artifacts are there, you can see. Okay, one is v1 earlier I created like a few days back, I think yesterday, and today you can see, if you mouse over that one, you can see v2 is generated today. Okay, so it is already placed in our harbor. Okay, so let me quickly deploy one Kubernetes deployment and service, so that it will using that image. Okay, so let me create it very fast. So for that, let me show you which part we already covered. 1 second. As per the agenda, yeah, we have covered this part. We already pushed our image to harbor. Let me go ahead to finish this last 2 steps. Okay, let me create one YAML file for the Kubernetes, then we should apply this YAML file, okay, in the Kubernetes cluster. Let me go ahead to create one YAML file. I have sample YAML file in the Kubernetes demo directory. Yeah, let me open this one. Yeah, so let me go through this one. So here we have two kind is there. One is development. You can see one development is there, one service is there. If you did not cover those things, you should know about what is development and service. Okay, so in the development we should refer our repo image name. Okay, so since we push that image to our harbor, remote harbor container registry, so we should put that name. This is very important. Okay, you create the deployment and your metadata name, any name you can put. Okay, but this one is important. Okay, so in this case I will tell you yeah, go to this step, docker tag. I think we pushed that one already. Yeah, when you tagging this one, you put this name. Okay, so this name should be there. Okay, let me, yeah, so we push the image as like demo app v2, I think v2. Okay, so because you can see here one v2 tag image is there. Okay, so we should put v2 and all thing remains same, and we expose this service as node port. Okay guys, you can cover this node port, load balancer, how to go, what is the meaning of those, you can cover in the some other video, you can cover those things. Okay, let me quickly deploy one application. Okay, so once you created this deployment, then we can access this deployment using the service. So I have created one service and expose using node port, that is 3005. Okay, so let me go ahead and okay, let me access my Kubernetes cluster. Okay, get node. Okay, you can see my Kubernetes cluster, single node Kubernetes cluster is running on some IP address, that is 26, and let me check my namespace. I have created one namespace, that is the dev. I am planning to deploy this application to that namespace. Okay, okay, get node -o white, because we are planning to deploy this service as node port, so that using this IP address, any node IP address, we can access that. Okay, let me apply that file, k apply -f yours, but before that double check whether all parameters are correct or not. This one is correct and all thing also correct. Okay, let me go ahead to create one application, k apply, okay, k apply -f, this one, and which namespace you want to apply, -n dev. Okay, you can mention the namespace here also, because in the YAML we did not mention the namespace, so that in the command itself you can mention the namespace, so that your deployment on the service will be deployed in this dev namespace. Let me apply that one. You can see in the message the deployment is created and the service is created. Then we can check from this namespace. Okay, get k-n dev get deploy. You can see one deployment is ongoing. Okay, that is ready count 01 is something, and you can see the service also. We can wait for the deployment to be completed. One service also created. Okay, and the service is exposed the node 3005, because we expose, when we define the service, that time we expose that service using node port, that is 3005. Same port is exposed at here. Okay, and your application port is this one, and application using this one. Okay, now you can see what happening in the inside. Okay, you can get those things. Yeah, one command is there, kn I think get event -w. You can check the running status. Okay, in the log you can see it is pulling that image from your local repo. Okay, not from GitHub, sorry, Docker Hub. Okay, you can see pulling the image from harbor local container registry, and image is v2. Okay, now you can see it successfully pulled that image in this much second. Okay, now the container creation process is ongoing and it will scale up to 1. Okay, so we expect that pod status should be in running state. Now we can see the deployment is in running state, like all pod are ready since we are using single replica. Now we can check the pod status. The pod should be in running state. Now we can invoke our application. So how to invoke your application? Since the application is exposed in node port, so in node port case, get node, you can use any node IP address. Okay, so since it is a single node Kubernetes cluster, I can crawl to that one, and your port number, this is the node port. Okay, now we can see the message, hello JVM Techie using JDK21 on. I think you can also invoke this one in your browser. Okay, I can copy this IP address and port number. I can go to the browser, http://3005. Okay, my Kubernetes cluster is running on .26, that's why I put .26. Yeah, now we can see the message, hello JVM Techie using JDK21 on Kubernetes 1.23. the message which one we put in the our application. Okay, the same message is showing here. Okay, like now your application, if you want to check the log what's inside this application, you can check this one, k namespace, and then your logs, then your pod name. Okay, you can see the Spring Boot all message is showing, like Tomcat started, which port is listening, the servlet container, all this thing is showing from your application pod. Okay, so this is all about how to deploy one simple Java application manually to the Kubernetes cluster. Most probably in the next video we will automate those things using a Jenkins pipeline or GitLab. I will create one video for that one. So for this, I think for this session this is enough. I think we'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys.